Question number 121. Scenario. Add 8 more. Testing similar questions ensures consistency. The test reveals inconsistency. To fix it, the developer should refine the agent's instruction to focus more on understanding user intent rather than literal keywords. Which instruction technique is most aligned with this approach? Option A, adding a long list of example keywords for each topic. Option B, writing clearer, more descriptive agent instructions that define the agent's purpose and how it should interpret ambiguous requests. Option C, reducing the number of topics in the agent. Option D, enabling the code interpreter. The correct answer is option B, writing clearer, more descriptive agent instruction that define the agent's purpose and how it should interpret ambiguous requests. Descriptive, intent-focused instruction guide the agent to understand the underlying meaning and context of user request rather than pattern matching on specific keywords. Directly addressing inconsistency by giving the agent a clearer framework for interpreting ambiguous or varied phrasing of the same question. The others don't address intent understanding. Adding keyword list reinforces literal matching, which is the root cause of the inconsistency. Reducing topics limits capability without improving interpretation quality. And enabling code interpreter adds code execution functionality entirely unrelated to natural language intent resolution. Question number 122. Scenario. The Continental uses Defender for Office 365. They receive an alert about a user impersonation phishing attempt targeting Winston. Which specific protection feature within Defender for Office 365 is designed to detect when an external email sender's display name mimics a trusted internal user like Winston Scott? Option A, safe attachments. Option B, anti-malware. Option C, anti-phishing policies with impersonation protection. Option D, mail flow rules, transport rules. The correct answer is option C, anti-phishing policies with impersonation protection. Anti-phishing policies with impersonation protection are specifically designed to detect when external senders use display names that closely mimic trusted internal users, identifying Winston Scott, spoofing attempts even when the actual sending domain differs, and taking configured protective actions like quarantine or warning banners. The others don't address display name impersonation. Safe attachment scans email attachment for malware. Anti-malware detects malicious code in messages and attachment. And mail flow rules enforce routing and policy conditions based on explicit criteria. None specifically analyze sender display names for internal user impersonation patterns. Question number 123. Scenario. Multiverse for users has a low active user rate. The IT team implements training and communication. They now want to measure the qualitative impact of Copilot on their frequent users, such as time saved or satisfaction. Which Microsoft tool is designed to measure employee sentiment, engagement, and potentially the impact of tools like Copilot? Option A, Microsoft Secure Score. Option B, Microsoft Viva Insight. Option C, Azure Cost Management. Option D, Microsoft Purview Audit. The correct answer is option B, Microsoft Viva Insight. Microsoft Viva Insight is specifically designed to measure employee sentiment, engagement, and productivity patterns, including qualitative impact metrics like time saved, meeting effectiveness, and well-being, making it the appropriate tool for understanding how frequent Copilot users perceive and benefit from the technology. The others serve different purposes. Secure Score measures security posture. Azure Cost Management tracks cloud spending. And Purview Audit provides compliance activity logs. None capture employee sentiment or qualitative productivity impact the way Viva Insights delivers. Question number 124. Scenario: the Contoso Corporation's security team is reviewing an incident where a threat actor persistently attempted to gain access by exploiting an older email client that doesn't support modern authentication protocols. Despite having conditional access policies requiring MFA for all users, these attempts were not blocked by the MFA rule. The team needs to implement a policy that specifically neutralizes this feature without disrupting legitimate modern app access. Which conditional access policy configuration would be the most effective in this scenario? Option A, require approved client apps for all cloud applications. Option B, block access from countries not listed in the named location. Option C, require device to be marked as compliant for all users. Option D, create a policy that explicitly blocks authentication requests using legacy protocols. The correct answer is option D, create a policy that explicitly blocks authentication requests using legacy protocols. Legacy authentication protocols like POP3, IMAP, and SMTP cannot support MFA challenges, meaning attackers using older email clients bypass MFA entirely. A conditional access policy explicitly targeting and blocking legacy authentication requests neutralizes this specific vector while leaving modern authentication flows completely unaffected for legitimate users. The others don't address this specific vector. Requiring approved client apps helps but doesn't explicitly block legacy protocols. Blocking non-listed countries targets location, not authentication protocol. And requiring compliant devices cannot be enforced against legacy protocols since they don't support modern authentication signals. Blocking legacy authentication directly is the precise and the targeted solution. Question number 125. Scenario: a financial services firm uses Exchange Online and must ensure that any email containing specific patterns of data, such as Swift code, is automatically modified before delivery to comply with internal masking rules. The solution must act on the message content as it transits the service. Which Extends online features should be configured to perform this content-based modification? Option A. Configure mailbox auditing. Option B. Set up a mail flow rule, transport rule. Option C. Implement in-place archiving. Option D. Create a retention policy. The correct answer is option B. Set up a mail flow rule, transport rule. Mail flow rules, transport rules operate directly on messages as they transit exchange online. They can inspect message content for specific patterns like Swift code and apply real-time modifications such as masking, redacting, or appending disclaimers before delivery, making them the precise tool for in-transit content modification. The others don't perform content modification in transit. Mailbox auditing records access and actions without modifying content. In-place archiving copies messages to an archive mailbox for retention purposes. And retention policies manage content lifecycle and deletion. Non-intercept and modify message content during delivery the way transport rules do. Question number 126. Scenario: an engineer at the pharmaceutical company accidentally attaches a document containing unpublished clinical trial result to an email intended for a colleague. A company needs a system that can proactively identify this type of sensitive data based on its unique format and prevent the email from being sent to external addresses while allowing internal review. Which Microsoft Purview feature is primarily designed for this automated detection and prevention? Option A. Audit Search. Option B. E-Discovery. Option C. Sensitivity Labels. Option D. Data Loss Prevention, DLP. The correct answer is option D. Data Loss Prevention, DLP. DLP policies are specifically designed for this scenario. They proactively scan outbound email content in real time, detect sensitive data patterns like unpublished clinical trial results, and automatically block external delivery while permitting internal communication, all without requiring manual intervention. The others serve different purposes. Audit Search retrieves historical activity logs. E-Discovery preserves and collects content for legal investigation. And sensitivity labels classify and protect documents, but don't actively intercept and block email transmission based on content detection. Only DLP provides the automated, real-time detection and enforcement needed here. Question number 127. Scenario: a global organization operates a break-glass emergency account for critical infrastructure access. The CISO mandates that any use of this account's elevated privileges must be time-bound, require a dual approval workflow, and generate an immediate alert to the security team with full activity logging. Which Microsoft Entra feature should be used to manage the emergency account according to these requirements? Option A. Conditional access. Option B, access reviews. Option C, identity protection. Option D, privileged identity management, PIM. The correct answer is option D, privileged identity management, PIM. PIM is purpose-built for exactly these requirements. It enforces time-bound privilege activation, supports multi-stage approval workflows, including dual approval, triggers immediate alerts and notification to designated security team members upon activation, and maintains comprehensive activity logs of all privileged actions taken during the session. The others don't fulfill all requirements. Conditional access enforces access policies but lacks approval workflows and time-bound activation. Access reviews periodically validates who has access but doesn't manage real-time privilege activation. And identity protection detects and responds to identity risk. Non-combined time-bound access, dual approval workflows, alerting and full logging the way PIM does. Question number 128. Scenario: a system alerts on a user who, over the weekend, accessed and downloaded an unusually high volume of project files spanning multiple sensitive R&D departments, a significant deviation from their typical activity pattern. The company wants to systematically identify such potential insider threat using behavioral signal. Which Microsoft Purview solution uses machine learning models to correlate this kind of user activities and flag potential risk? Option A, information barriers. Option B, insider risk management. Option C, sensitivity label analytics. Option D, records management. The correct answer is option B, insider risk management. Microsoft Purview Insider Risk Management uses machine learning models to correlate behavioral signal like unusual after-hours file download across sensitive departments against baseline user activity patterns, automatically flagging deviations as potential insider threats and surfacing them for security team investigation. The others serve different purposes. Information barriers prevent communication between defined groups. Sensitivity label analytics report on label uses and classification coverage. And record management governs content retention and disposition. Non-apply behavioral machine learning to detect anomalous user activity patterns indicative of insider risk. Question number 129. Scenario: a project manager needs to generate a status report by synthesizing data from a recent project online item, last week's Teams meeting transcript, and relevant emails. They require an AI assistant that can work within these applications to help draft content based on this specific organizational context. What is the core capability of Microsoft 365 Copilot that enables this context-aware assistance? Option A, it provides administrative control over SharePoint site collections. Option B, it hosts and manages the underlying data storage for all Microsoft 365 services. Option C, it uses the Microsoft Graph to ground responses in user-accessible organizational data. Option D, it automatically provisions new licenses for advanced AI features. The correct answer is option C. It uses the Microsoft Graph to ground responses in user-accessible organizational data. Microsoft Graph is the core capability that enables this context-aware assistance. It connects Copilot to the user's project online items, Teams meeting transcripts, and emails, grounding responses in real organizational data the user has permission to access, rather than relying solely on general AI knowledge. The others are incorrect. Copilot doesn't manage SharePoint site collection. It doesn't host or manage Microsoft 365 data storage. And it doesn't provision licenses. Microsoft Graph as the organizational data backbone is the fundamental capability that makes contextual cross-application assistance possible. Question number 130. Scenario: a legal firm applies a classification of attorney-client privilege to certain documents. They need this classification to automatically enforce protection measures, including encryption and restriction on forwarding, regardless of whether the document is stored in OneDrive, SharePoint, or attached to an email in Outlook. What is the primary function to the Microsoft Purview feature used to achieve this consistent enforcement? Option A, to automatically migrate documents to a designated secure location. Option B, to classify data and persistently apply protection settings. Option C, to delete unlabeled documents after a grace period. Option D, to improve search indexing performance for legal terms. The correct answer is option B, to classify data and persistently apply protection settings. Sensitivity labels classify documents and persistently embed protection settings. Encryption, forwarding restriction, and access controls directly into the file itself, ensuring this protection travel with the document regardless of whether it is stored or shared, whether OneDrive, SharePoint, or Outlook attachments. The others are incorrect. Sensitivity labels don't migrate documents to secure locations. They don't delete unlabeled content after grace periods. And they have no role in search indexing performance. Persistent classification with embedded protection that follows the content everywhere is the defining and primary function of sensitivity labels.